Right, sons, everybody, and welcome back to Castles and Company. We're already on episode 4. This episode is Shawarma. Shawarma. So, we'll talk about that later, but as for now, we got a lot of news to go over, so first we'll introduce everyone who's with us today. Actually, it's just Nathan with us today, so Nathan Boosie. Oh, wait, Nathan, re-say that?
What's up, everyone?
There we go, now your volume's on. We're off to a great start already. Unfortunately, Ashley is not here with us today. Blake could also not make it, and Sunil could also not make it. So we're kind of just doing it the two of us today. So yeah, we'll just get into what's ever happening in the Disney sphere. So first thing is off. So we've got the Eternals teaser trailer that dropped. Nathan, did you get a chance to watch the trailer?
I did. And I wasn't familiar with the comic book storyline at first. So I was a bit confused at first, but yeah, it seems interesting.
So yeah, that trailer dropped like 2 days ago, I believe. I didn't catch it till like halfway through my day, and I was like, "Wait, what? The trailer dropped? Are you kidding me?" Um, this movie looks exciting to me. I heard some things that were like, oh, this movie might not be like amazing, just like rumors I've heard, but I don't know. They're like all the outfits that the characters are wearing, the actors and actresses that they have in this movie, all like huge names. I can never remember their name. Nathan, did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
I did not, but I know like as far as key actors, I think was Angelina Jolie in it, and then
Uh,
Kamal. I don't remember his last name,
yeah, I thought you
but
meant Game of Thrones for a second. I'm like, none of these
no.
people, none of these people are in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But the guy in the front in the blue, he's Robb Stark in Game of Thrones, and then they also have Kit Harington, who plays Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. I think his role is like the Black Knight. They don't really like go into that at all in the trailer, but I don't know. I'm like excited to see both of them. They're like two of my favorite actors, which I feel bad. I don't even know the Robb Stark's guy's name, but like his role in that show is like one of my favorites. So I'm excited to see like what they do in this
I
movie.
really like seeing like film adaptations of like lesser known comic like story arcs because you kind of like I feel like they have a lot more creative freedom with it, you know?
Yeah, I
Like if
agree.
you're making a Spider-Man movie, obviously there's like a ton of expectations you have to meet for like what a Spider-Man movie should be.
You got to make
But
sure
with
you're killing off. You
Eternals,
got to make sure you're killing off Uncle Ben in the Spider-Man movies.
exactly. Yeah. No, that's literally like the exact like that's a great example of what I'm talking about. Like Spider-Man, it's like there's expectations regarding like the origin, whatever, but like with this, since it's a lesser known name, like they could probably go in whatever direction they wanted with it.
Which is interesting when you think about it. Like in the Spider-Man movie, like the one with Iron Man, they never really show like a oh they're killing off Uncle Ben, but like
That's why it was good. Everyone was
yeah,
sick of Uncle Ben
dying
origin.
over and over. But yeah, this is the
Yeah.
first time we get to see the Eternals in action. Like most people, this isn't a household name. Before they
Mhm.
mentioned this, I didn't know what this is. Like I'm a fake
Yeah.
Marvel fan. I'm not like all up in the comics like most or like some
Yeah.
people are, but I definitely appreciate the comics, and like I'm glad that the movies are like introducing me them to them more.
And I
And
would say it's pretty like obscure. Like you said, it's not a household name. Like I would consider myself like fairly well versed with comics and like comic universes, and I had never heard of the Eternals.
uh-huh. So I don't know, but what do you think of like the outfits, like that ship that came in the beginning of the trailer? I don't know. Do you
Yeah,
have any?
definitely the setting was very cool. I don't know, the ship looked like CGI wise, the ship looked a bit like if we're getting critical about it, maybe like a little bit out of place, but I don't know. I'm sure the rest of the setting was beautiful and like seeing what like the environment they created, I'm excited to see the movie,
Uh-huh.
like how it turns out with the effects and whatnot. Like if like worst comes to worst, if the Eternals like story arc doesn't end up being like a super interesting one, which I'm sure it will be, but
You
if
think
it
it'll be
didn't,
like
like
visually pleasing?
yeah,
Pleasing?
exactly, yeah.
I think that's a good point with that too. At least, like I said, the outfits they look really cool. Like
Yeah.
either way, you're gonna have some kids running around next Halloween with like a ton of
Yeah.
Eternals outfits on.
And like you
Um,
said, like there's some A-list actors, so like from
yeah,
at least from a production standpoint, it's gonna be something big,
it's kind of hard to screw it up, kind of deal. You know, like
Yeah.
it might not be like fantastic, but
Because
it's
like there's no expectations going into
yeah.
this.
You're not like, oh, you screwed up Spider-Man, how dare you? It's like, no, like who cares? No one knows these people anyway, kind of deal.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think about like the ending? Because honestly, throughout this whole trailer, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of confused. Like, are they on Earth? Like, what's happening? When does this take place?
Yeah.
It wasn't until they got to the end of the trailer where they talk about where it's like the kid in there. She's like, or he or she is like,
Who's
now that
gonna lead the
like,
Avengers?
yeah, who's gonna lead the Avengers now? Like, and this guy's like, I think I could lead them. So obviously they know who the Avengers are, and they consider themselves like equals with the Avengers. If he's saying like he can lead them, so it's just gonna be interesting to see like how they fit into that. Like,
I was surprised by that. I wasn't expecting them to like tie it into
neither was I.
direct to you at all.
It's kind of like a Captain Marvel where it's like it's weird to think of like, oh, and she's like out of time. Like this, the Captain Marvel movies like took place years before the Avengers were around. Like it's, I guess the Eternals has showed us like it's at some point taking place with real time events. So
I
like you
will
said,
say that does worry me a bit more if they're going to be tying it into like the overarching like universe, because then there is potential to kind of like,
screwed up.
yeah, like messing stuff up in there.
They make
And I would say like the universe that they've created is already like the cinematic universe is already quite like dense, if you will.
yeah. I was talking about to my mom this the other day. Like you have maybe like 100 like big name actors and actresses that are like a part of the Marvel universe. Like how are they paying them all? Like you hear how like Robert Downey Jr. made like $1 million for every minute he was in Spider-Man
Like Disney.
Homecoming.
That's what I'm saying. If
Yeah,
anyone's gonna do this, it's Disney
like where are
that
they
has
get
the capacity to do
where
this.
are they
So
getting this money? Like and
I
then I
mean,
remember I go to see these movies like 6 times in the theater in a
yeah,
row,
I was
and
gonna
I'm like,
say, I was
that's
like,
where
you
they're
should
getting the
know better.
money.
Of anyone, Marvel is topping box offices left and right, so I'm sure money's not a problem.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. Let's see what else in comic book news. I guess we have the fact that we were talking about this earlier off camera, but they have there's a deal that's being talked about where Mar or Disney slash Marvel might get the rights to DC Comics. So that's something that's like currently a rumor flying around right now. A lot of my friends had really strong opinions on it. I don't know. What do you think about it so far? If it were to
Including
happen,
me. Like,
yeah,
I didn't want to
you were with
talk about
them.
it too much off camera because I was like, let's save it for the podcast. But I don't know, like that, like right off the bat, even that sounded like a terrible idea to me because I feel like
Yeah, I'm on board with
Marvel
you right there.
First of all, it's just like why, like I don't see a reason why, even if there wasn't a reason why they shouldn't like acquire DC Comics, I don't see a reason why they need to. Like they have this entire Marvel universe to like flesh out still that they still like have room to work with, you
Like, have
know?
you seen the roadmap for the next movies and like TV
Yeah,
shows that
exactly. It's already like extremely dense. There's no need to just be like piling on other things and like become this like huge monopoly over every single like
that's exactly what our friend
asset of
Michael said,
entertainment.
that
Yeah.
just having them like right now the only thing that's like competing in like comics wise is the like what was it, the like the Snyder cut, like that's like the only thing that like was like top tier like huge comic book movie, you know,
And it's like, yeah, DC movies are pretty like lackluster, but I don't think the answer is to just hand it over to,
to Disney.
yeah. And like the other reason is like this is a reason why they shouldn't acquire it. DC comics are definitely like a very different breed than Marvel, like the Marvel universe. Like DC comics are known for being really dark and
Yeah,
gritty. That's kind of like the beauty of them is that they actually tell very like poignant stories compared to Marvel comics. Marvel comics are kind of what you would think about as like your typical like superhero stories.
yeah,
Like they always kind of skew toward like the uplifting and like family friendly side of things. And this isn't even just talking about like how the movies are produced. Like even in the comics themselves, like while the comics are like probably more gritty in a lot of parts than the movies, like even the comics are fairly like lighthearted. But DC comics, a lot of their beauty is their exploration of like pretty dark like subject matter. And like the characters are like, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar, like DC is famous for their rogues gallery, like their villains being so
yeah.
like deep, like and complex compared to Marvel villains.
like Marvel villains are often like oversimplified. I feel like it's just like the bad
They
guy,
did a
but
good job
DC
with
villains have some.
they did a good job with Thanos though, in my opinion. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
but like I
But
get what
it's
you're
like
saying.
even like from the like source material, like fundamentally Thanos is like what, like super like he's big bad guy, like
Yeah,
he's a he's
literal
like
big bad guy.
God set on destroying the universe. But you take someone like Joker, like the Joker is like he's like a mentally ill man, like he has like struggles that are detailed in the comic books, and you see like he's a normal person that like went down a wrong path. And even like they allude to in the comics and like just DC like material in general that Batman is like no better than the Joker and the Joker is no better than Batman. That's like a big theme that they explore.
Uh-huh.
That like heroes and villains are not like necessarily like they don't create like a dichotomy in the same way that Marvel does. In Marvel, it's like bad guys are bad guys and good guys are good guys. In DC, there's a lot of anti-hero type people that like really blur the lines and they explore the like ideas regarding like what makes someone a good person versus what makes someone a villain.
I couldn't have said that better, but like another thing I realized that like you'd also have is under the studios, like what are you gonna do? Put out a movie like, oh, we just put out the Hawkeye TV show. Now we're putting out the Green Arrow TV show. Like I feel like the problem with DC Comics and Marvel Comics is that largely their characters are very similar at like their base. Like I'm trying to think
Mhm.
like would you consider the would you consider Wonder Woman and Thor to be like equivalents? Like they're like king slash queen of their like tribe type deal. I'm trying to like
Okay.
compare
I think like what I would like add to what you're saying is
like
the
Quicksilver and the
characters are
Flash.
definitely like they're different, but they're similar enough, like you're saying, to where I feel like if the same person was making like both movies or like universes, they would definitely fall into the trap of just making like them like copies of each other,
Yeah, and then what are you gonna
That's
do?
exactly, yeah, like
Are you
you
gonna have
just
a
touched on that
crossover?
perfectly. Like,
Are you gonna have like a
yeah, like
crossover
it
episode
would
like with
all
the
like
Flash and
metal in together.
Quicksilver?
Like it would
Like
just
yeah,
become like another like copycat Marvel universe, which would be a huge like shame if that happened. Because
yeah.
like I'm sure you guys can tell already, like I could ramble on this for a while, but like
Well, like you're
DC
saying,
has some
like
beautifully
they have
fleshed out
different
like,
theme. Like
characters.
overall, there's different themes. There's different things to get out of them. But if you put them under Marvel,
Yeah,
Marvel's like, well, this works with the Marvel movies. We're just gonna do the
yeah,
same thing with the DC movies.
exactly.
Even
Yeah, it
though,
would just turn into like slotting DC characters into like Marvel like character archetypes.
like, I know like some people think like, oh, it'd be really cool to have like a Superman and like Thor get together, or like you know what I mean, like something like that
Mhm.
crossover. But like, I don't see it. Like I don't. As far as we know,
Yeah.
the MCU will probably keep on going, probably until we die. Like, what are they gonna do? Like after they're gonna make $1 billion on one of these movies, and the next day they're gonna be like, you know, we're done. Like, no, they're gonna keep making them till people don't want
Yeah.
Marvel movies anymore. And it's like, what are they gonna
Okay,
do?
I
Like, say
wouldn't write off
Superman?
like
They're gonna put Superman in
yeah,
the next one? Like, what are they?
exactly. Okay, I wouldn't write off like totally the idea of like some sort of crossover being interesting. Maybe like
Oh, it'd be interesting, but I'm just saying it's like
Superman
I don't see
versus
it.
like Superman having a crossover with like some major Marvel, like a Spider-Man movie would be quite a lot. But like if you go on to like a less like dramatic scale, I guess like maybe some smaller Marvel characters mixing with some smaller DC characters.
Like in TV show form?
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. That would be a great avenue to explore it, maybe. But like even then, that's a long way down the road because like again, as we mentioned earlier, like DC movies are pretty lackluster right now, like the DC cinematic universe, and like we definitely people would want to see that fleshed out more. As I don't want to see them mix things before they even have like an established DC universe that's like entertaining.
That's the problem with DC too. I feel like if you pick up DC and add it into like the overall Disney thing, you bring up a lot of the baggage where like DC has failed in
Yeah.
creating their expanded universe type deal,
And
which
you would
yeah.
muddle a lot of the themes in DC by mixing with Marvel. Because again, Marvel is much more of like not to say generic. Like Disney is definitely very good at what it does with the, like creating these like quote unquote generic stories that are like simple, but they're also like, they're comfortable and they're good. Like
Uh-huh.
they do what they're trying to do very well. And that's why Marvel movies are so good. So like even though they're like maybe not the most complex narratives, they're very well done to the point where like you can take a simple storyline and turn it into something that's really enjoyable.
Uh-huh.
But like DC, I feel like is not in the same like area where like if you were to mix DC and Marvel, it would just end up muddling a lot of the DC like tones and characters and whatnot.
So you feel like DC would take the bigger cut than Marvel?
I feel like DC would maybe get like either overshadowed or take a bigger cut because
Yeah, it's like
I definitely
it's the
think
least
DC comics are a lot more nuanced, you know?
it's the least liked child, you know? Like
Yeah, yeah.
you
Mhm.
don't say you don't love them, but there's very clearly a favorite.
They're just kind of there. And the spotlight wouldn't be on them, you know? And they shine when the spotlight is on them
Yeah,
because of how
that's a
nuanced
good
they
point.
are.
Because
Yeah.
right now the spotlight Disney's focused on is their Marvel Cinematic Universe. They know it's
Yeah, yeah.
clearly the superior one. Why would they
Mhm.
pick up? I mean, people might have differing opinions. Some people might say that they like the DC universe better, but very clearly, I believe Marvel has done a way better
Yeah.
job.
I mean, as far as your opinion on like comics and stuff, that's a whole different like ball game, you know? Like
No,
DC
it's like,
comics are definitely I would honestly consider
Have you seen the DC animated movies?
I have not, but I've no, I've
They're
actually seen
so good, so
yeah, no, I
good.
saw an animated adaptation of I think it was what is it called? The Batman origin story?
Yeah, I don't know.
It might be like oh, Batman Begins, I believe. I saw like an animated version. That
Uh-huh.
was really nice. Like it's one of my favorite like animated pieces I watch. But like and I've read like the comics too. And like I feel like no matter what your opinion is on the comics universe, because like even myself, I would consider myself a bigger DC comics fan than Marvel fan, like by far. But like with cinematic universes, I think it's like you really can't argue that Marvel is like a much more established and well done cinematic universe than DC is.
Uh-huh. But like you said, we could probably just keep going on for this for hours, but there's a ton of news this
Yeah.
week, so we'll just move on to the next thing. I think that's all we have for like Marvel and comics. Next thing we've got is just real quick. We'll talk about the Nicole. We'll talk about the Bad Batch episode. So for those of you who are Star Wars fans, have you been watching the Bad Batch? We just had the fourth episode, I believe, that came out on this past Friday, and oh yeah, it was it's pretty much I don't want I was about to like start describing it, but then I don't want to give away any spoilers. I guess just give like a short like non-spoiler review. It was a really good episode. Had a lot of like funny points in it. But like I said, not much to it. Just that I believe that there's like 16 episodes in this season, so we're almost one fourth of the way through the series now. Um, I guess it's just cool to Star Wars fans. We still have content coming out. I know Marvel doesn't really have anything coming out right now, so this is just like the big thing that's been going on. Nathan, I know you don't really watch The Bad Batch, but I don't know. Is that like a show you might consider watching in the near future, late like
I
far
was just
future?
gonna say, like, I really like this, like, kind of, uh, I guess, like, tradition maybe, where like that Disney is creating of like making these little like offshoot pieces that maybe don't focus. So I think that's like definitely a really good direction for them to take things in with like
In Star Wars
these huge franchises.
or like all
Just
the
in
shows?
general, like even with Marvel, right? We have a lot of like we're getting a lot of smaller TV shows and whatnot, and like I feel like that's the right step to take with how like what we were talking about with Spider-Man earlier about how like some of these stories like
You're getting
retelling them too
repeats?
many
Yeah.
times can get stale, you know? So I really like this like whole this thing we're doing of like exploring these lesser known facets of like these universes.
I like that it gives you the feel of like you're getting a behind the scenes kind of deal. Like
Yeah, exactly, kind of. Yeah, that's
especially
a
with
great
Star
way to
Wars.
describe it. You're seeing like what's going on behind the like
The big
outside
stuff,
of
the huge
the
stuff, you know?
direct movie walls. Yeah,
Yeah,
like these huge events that we're exploring, like what's going on in the normal lives of the people in these universes.
exactly. Like the biggest thing that the Bad Batch has been showing us throughout these episodes is how once you have Order 66 in episode 3 of Star Wars, then it just people watching the movies, it just you jump right to episode 4. You wonder what happened to the clones, what happened to like the Jedi like during that period of time. And this is
Mhm.
like one of the first. Okay, it's not one of the first. We already had Star Wars Rebels, but like this is giving a better show of the transition between the Republic to Empire and like the
Mhm.
drastic changes that were made in a very short period of time. So it's
Yeah.
very cool to see like the politics aspect, to see the clones, to see their struggles, to see like I don't know, like your favorite characters and like how they are handling the event that had just occurred. So, like I said, I don't want to like get too in depth because like spoilers, but yeah, this episode, good episode. Definitely gonna keep watching until the next week. Um, and
And
I
like
guess
when
yeah.
writers craft these universes, right? Like they put so much time into these smaller aspects
Oh,
that
you wouldn't
like
believe it.
to only explore these like blockbuster like worthy topics would be like a real shame. Like I'm glad like a franchise that's as like rich as Star Wars is getting these kind of like spin-off
You know,
episodes
I'm actually
and TV.
really glad you mentioned that because this was another piece of news that had just dropped that I was about to bring up that you're kind of hitting on. Is Dave Filoni? He's like one of like the executive producers for like the Bad Batch TV show, and like he, I forget like his exact title, but there's a rumor. It's not like a rumor, but like there's like this thing going floating around this past week where he got a promotion at Lucasfilm or with
Ooh.
Disney, where he has. It's very confusing. Like I'm not really sure like his responsibilities have changed, but like he's gotten some kind of like promotion. So have you heard of the name Dave Filoni before? I forget if I've mentioned it.
It seems somewhat familiar, but I wasn't sure where that you worked at Lucasfilm.
So anyway, he's like worked on stuff like The Mandalorian, Clone Wars. He worked closely with George Lucas back with like the original Clone Wars TV series. So like it's good. I'm not really too sure with like how this whole promotion thing worked or if it's even a real promotion, but just it's good to see him getting the recognition that he deserves for doing so well in like
Mhm.
the kind of content he's been putting out with Star Wars is some of the fans like favorite things like Bad Batch, Clone Wars, Mandalorian. Like most people don't have very good feelings with like the Rise of Skywalker, like the newer Star Wars trilogy, but
Mhm.
everyone seems to agree that they love like the kind of content that Dave Filoni's been working on. So
Yeah.
like I'm
And that's like
glad, yeah,
definitely indicative that he's like an important voice, you know? So
yeah.
that's good to see.
So it's good to see that he's given. If he might have already had this, but like just it's good for us to know that he's being given um a big piece of the how you say it like a place at the
Like a
table.
platform, like
Yeah.
yeah, like he has a large input as to like how this stuff plays out.
So I know most people are saying like make him president of Lucasfilm. Like I'm not sure. I like the position he's in because he's not like directing everyone around. He's just like focusing on getting out the good content. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like they have like it's good to see people in the right place so that they
Exactly.
can
Yeah.
focus on what they're good at, you know?
Like he's not there to like tell every single small aspect of people where to go. He just makes really damn good Star Wars.
Hmm.
So and then last thing for Star Wars slash Lucasfilm that I have for this week is Disney put out a pin set. So the reason I added this in is because we were talking about pins last week. So it's a 50th anniversary pin set that Lucasfilm has put out. So it's got things on like a one of the pins says like 50th anniversary. One's a Mandalorian. One's like a New Hope. One's Raiders of the I think it's either Raiders of the Lost Ark or it's Indiana Jones. And the reason I mention this is because I bought one. So this went on sale on the Disney Shop website for $90 for the pin set. So we were just talking about pins, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to start investing, like this might as well be the time to like get into it for like this because they only made 1,500 of these sets. So I am an owner of one of a very limited amount of these pins. So
Hmm.
these are not pins I'm going to be wearing to Disneyland. So these are things I'm going to lock away in a lockbox. But you know, once a year I'll pull them out and they'll be like, yeah, that looks cool, you know. But the problem with this is it's only available for people who have like the D23 like membership. So Nathan, you know what D23 is, right?
I do not.
It's like Disney 23. It's like Disney's like convention where they have like they drop
Uh,
like a bunch of Disney news like every year.
okay.
So
Cool, cool.
I bought the membership for it. Like they had a deal which was like two memberships for like $130. So I hit up my sister and was like, "Hey, do you want this?" Like it's a cheaper deal if we both get it. So I grabbed that for a year, grabbed the pins. So, I figured like if we're doing this Disney podcast, I might as well like have the D23 membership because once D23 comes around again, I'll definitely be tuning in for that. Um, this is also like kind of unrelated, but I also have tickets for Star Wars Celebration once that comes back around in August 2022. So I guess I'm trying to personally just get like more involved in like the Disney conventions. So it's gonna be it'll be interesting to see if like the having the membership pays off. But I don't know. What do you think of the pins? Did you get a chance to look at the ones I sent to you, like the picture
I
of
did
them,
see.
or what do
Yeah,
you think of them?
cool stuff for anyone that's like interested in collectibles and whatnot. It's definitely, and it's good to see like I feel like with a lot of franchises, like collectible items and whatnot is kind of like an under-supported like category of, I don't know how you would say it, like merchandise, I guess.
How so? Like, what do you mean
I don't
by
know. Like
unsupported?
I was surprised like when you introduced me to like Disney pin trading and whatnot that there was this whole like network of like
Oh yeah, it's
collectible
crazy.
trading and whatnot. Yeah, I
It's
feel like
crazy
with
how many
other
there
like
are. How many pin
yeah like
traders
with
there are.
other similar like uh I guess like media like franchises,
Uh huh.
there was maybe not as much. Like I guess comic collecting is huge, but that's not really like
Pokemon
these
cards,
items aren't
maybe.
really like made to be like oh yeah like that's a huge thing. But again, like I feel like with Star Wars it's different though, right? Because you have people making these pins like specifically for the purpose of being collected rather than like
Wearing them.
it being like yeah like some sort of artifact of like something else.
No, it's like action figures. Like people have like action figures from the original 1997 Star Wars action figures. Like, and
Yeah, like that's
they're worth like tens of thousands of dollars. Like this type of pin set that I bought. I might have bought it for 90. In a year, it's gonna cost $200 online because it's like a limited edition set. 10 years
mhm.
from now, it could be worth $1,000. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
as long as like I don't open up the pin set, it's way higher than like the rate of inflation. Is
yeah.
about not that not that that makes it any more valuable to me. I just want it because it's like I'm a big Lucasfilm fan. I'm a big Star Wars fan. So
Mhm.
anyway, I guess the important part about it though is just that I can't wait to like see what my Disney 23 pass gets me or like. So I don't know. I guess I'll keep that in mind in the future and then let y'all know like if it's worth investing for the listeners, if it's worth like you investing into getting this membership. So I guess that's something that we can look forward to.
I definitely think though, like you mentioned, like you're not just buying it because it's like a financial investment, you know, like you're buying it because you're a Star
Yeah.
Wars fan. But like that is a huge part, I feel like, of what keeps these like collectible markets like healthy, right? Because like if you're buying items that aren't holding their value, then it like financially speaking, then it's like
What's the point of
I feel
having
like
them?
that can do a lot to like yeah, like turn people away from collecting. But like it's a lot easier to get people on board with the idea of like collecting this stuff if you know that like it's going to hold their value, like you know, the same way like
Yeah.
jewelry would.
Yeah, like I have boxes of Star Wars Legos like under my bed that I still haven't opened. Like and like some like are action figure sets. I don't know,
Mhm.
like I said, I don't I might just hold on to them. I might look to sell them in the future, but yeah, I guess that's all we got for this for the pins. But next thing we've got is we'll talk a little bit about some Disneyland news. So a lot of big news happened with Disneyland in the past couple of weeks, or like park news in general. So I'm just gonna. There were so many different things. It would be hard for me to talk about them all right now, but I'll just give you all the spark notes. So one of the first things I saw, I think this was like announced today, but or was rumored today. Out of state guests are welcome as of June 15th. So currently in California, we have like I think there's just still like a travel advisory and like many things are still closed down. But the rumor or the current like date projected for California to reopen is June 15th. So it's saying that Disney's saying is that whenever the state opens up is that out of state guests will be welcome back June 15th. Other rumors slash news I've seen is that Disneyland will be allowed to go back to full capacity in June as well. So it's unlikely that they'll immediately jump back to full capacity, but they'll have the ability to if they want. I missed this last week, so I just want to add this as well. Is that I read that Disneyland Paris is reopening June 17th. So very shortly after Disneyland's allowed to go back to full capacity, Disneyland Paris over in Europe will be allowed to reopen. And then, let's see, we had one thing where on the Disneyland calendar, it can show you what days that certain rides and attractions are open. And on June 26th, it says that the Buzz Lightyear ride will be open. So, Nathan, you've been on the Buzz Lightyear ride, right? The Astro Blasters,
Yeah, it's the one where you shoot
like the targets.
the little yeah.
So yeah, that's currently closed right now due to renovations. Some people thought it would be closed for a longer period of time, but it looks like according to the calendar, that'll be back the 26th. So to add to that, the Matterhorn is also said to reopen the July 2nd. So that's the first day on the calendar that the Matterhorn is no longer listed as closed. So if you're thinking of taking a trip to Disneyland within the next couple of months, maybe wait till like July 2nd, July 3rd. The only ride that should still be closed is the Jungle Cruise, which is still under renovations, and that will not be opened until, according to Disney, until like late summer. So we'll have to just wait for that. I don't know, Nathan, does that like affect your wanting to go to Disneyland or like, yo, Astro Blasters is open? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Like stuff like Matterhorn is kind of like an iconic part. Like I can't think
I
of any
love that.
time
I
I've
love it.
gone to Disneyland and not gone on Matterhorn, you know? So like
I feel
I
like
don't know
every time I'm
about
trying to go,
rescheduling an entire trip around it, but
every time
like
I'm trying to go, the Matterhorn will like end up being closed. Like I've gone like 2 years in a row where like the Matterhorn will be closed. I'm like this is a load of barnacles. Like it's my favorite ride at the park.
yeah, it's a lot of people's favorite rides, you know. I wasn't even aware that it was closed because the last time we went to Disney, we just went to California Adventure.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that is it being renovated or what?
Yeah, so here's the deal with that. I actually wanted to get into that as well. So the problem with the Matterhorn is I discussed this a little with some friends earlier, but I forget if you were present for that, Nathan. But the whole deal with the Matterhorn is that you can't take down the whole Matterhorn and rebuild it up. If you did that, it would interfere with the building codes that are now implemented by the city of Anaheim. So
Hmm.
if you wanted to make the Matterhorn, I believe the Fresh Baked Disney, um, he's a Disney like Disneyland YouTuber who was talking about it, and he was saying how you'd have to make like the base of the Matterhorn like so much wider, and like it would like interfere with other attractions. So like the only way for Disney to the only two things Disney can do is they can either renovate the Matterhorn or they have to like get rid of the Matterhorn permanently. So
Hmm.
everyone's understanding currently is that they're taking the inside of the Matterhorn and replacing the what do you call it? What is like the something that keeps it up? I'm blanking on the word.
Uh,
Like the scaffolding inside. What is that called? The
Structure,
supports
foundation.
foundation. Yeah, there you go. Like rebuilding the foundation from the inside. So
I
it's
see.
like you can't really see it as much on the outside, but like I said, you can't take down the whole thing and redo it. So everyone's current understanding is that they're like repairing a little bit of the inside, opening up the ride for a couple months, then closing it down, repairing a bit more. So I guess the long story short is the Matterhorn's staying around for now, but if you do want to get on it, make sure you go when it's open. So make sure to check the Disneyland calendar, see if like Matterhorn's open. Let's go this month. Because honestly, I'm not sure. Like no one really knows how long the Matterhorn's going to be around. Like this is an old attraction. It wasn't there when the park started, but the Matterhorn is old. Like this thing has been around. It's seen a
I
lot.
can see that. Matterhorn is one of those rides where like you like it, but it also gives you
It's so
mild
rickety.
whiplash.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
kind of like that though. Like I don't
I
know.
do too. One of my favorite roller coasters ever is not at Disneyland, but at Knott's Berry Farm, Ghost Rider. And
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
notorious for messing up your neck.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Matterhorn. I think they've replaced like the tracks and whatnot, but It's still, I still think it's a really fun ride. I think there's two sides of the Matterhorn. One's like a slowerish or like a calmer side, and one's like the more whiplash side. Definitely, I'm always
Mhm.
trying to get on like the side with the that's more rickety.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm having more fun if I go on that one.
I
So,
feel like it's a really good blend of like calm and fun,
uh-huh. So yeah,
especially
honestly,
for someone like I feel like a lot of the rides at Disneyland personally can be a bit like too underwhelming as far as like thrill stuff. So it's nice to see rides that are more like at least balanced.
uh-huh. So yeah, I guess if you're I'm personally also going to take this into consideration. I'm not going to schedule any more Disneyland trips until July 2nd. Um, we still might have a trip coming up. We'll see. As was it Blake Snell and I are going in June once Avengers Campus opens, but we'll see if we'll have like if money permits another trip later in the summer. But honestly, it's kind of hard to like psych yourself into going to Disneyland right now when they don't have their annual passes yet. So we'll just have to see once those come out as well.
Mhm.
Um, and I believe that's all we've got for Disneyland for now. So we can get on to the conversation for this week. So that is Avengers Campus. We're getting our first looks at Avengers Campus. Nathan, did you get a chance to see the map of Avengers Campus that I sent you?
I did. I was looking at it earlier, and we also got a couple quick glances at it when we were
Yeah,
in California Adventure, which was really interesting.
that's right. We what did we do? We walked up to the door, and the cast members said, "Get the hell
Yeah,
out."
I was just gonna say that it was kind of funny. Like it kind of felt like in line with the Avengers universe. We walked up to like one of the walls where you could like kind of see part of the like some of the structures over, and then this Disney employee was like standing there, and he gave us the like
Didn't he like shake
universal
his head?
turnaround hand motion.
He said, "Get out of here! It's not open
Yeah.
yet."
He actually forcefully escorted us out. Now he just
Iron Man
quietly told us
personally
like.
picked us up and threw us into a portal.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny though, like how they're like have people like guarding it from prying eyes.
I like how it's like Disney prides themselves in having up like their walls that like prevent you from seeing things, but like
Yeah.
you can just like go on Google Earth and like look over and be like, "Huh, there's buildings there."
I thought it was funny how you're not even because like the thing we walked up to wasn't like some open area. It was like
Yeah, it
we
was like a
walked up to this
huge
giant
closed door.
wall. Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
it's not as if we're about to like climb inside. He was like, no, you can't even look.
Yeah, we were I believe we were in Cars Land. We were able to look over the wall and see the Quinjet sitting there. So that was really cool to
Yeah,
see. I'm sure it's gonna be even cooler like up close once we actually get into the park.
yeah.
Um
And also, Jared didn't see this, but from the top of the Ferris wheel in California Adventure, you can get some nice views of the campus.
yeah, when they went up to the Ferris wheel, I was passed out on a bench. The I was either my first drink. So I didn't mention this in the this past episode, but I had my first alcoholic beverage at California Adventure. Was that May 17th when we went? So it was my birthday on May 15th. So this was my first chance to actually get any kind of alcoholic beverage at the park. And afterwards, I don't know if it was the drink, I don't know if it was the lobster nachos, and I don't know if it was the fact that I got like 5 hours of sleep. But one of those things just said, "No, you're done." And I clocked out for like an hour or an hour and a half on like one of the benches. So
I think Disney is just taxing in general. I think we were all kind of from waking up so early, and
dude,
then
you got
yeah,
like 2 hours. You had
I
like
was
two
also
hours of
very
sleep.
sleep deprived, but I was pushing through like a trooper.
Oh, whoa, whoa! You're saying I'm not a trooper? Just
No,
kidding.
Jared is that it definitely wasn't the drink. To clarify, Jared's first alcoholic beverage ever was not at Disneyland. This was his first
Oh yes,
alcoholic beverage at Disneyland.
correct, correct.
And yeah, so we had a little mid-afternoon slump after we ate. But then luckily we recovered.
Yeah, if y'all are interested in seeing me seeing what I got to drink, we will be putting out our California Adventure vlog within this next week. So as always, make sure to check out that on the YouTube page as well if you're listening on Spotify. head over to the YouTube page, give us a subscribe, check out our other videos on there. But yeah, so things that Avengers Campus is gonna have. It's gonna have the web shooters, so that's gonna be the one ride that's currently there. It's gonna be Spider-Man themed. We talked about it last week. Nathan, you were there when we talked about like having the DLC wristbands or whatever. Did you
Oh yeah, yeah. I
So
remember
I
that.
did some more research on that, and honestly, it is weird that like an amusement park has, or not amusement park, like a themed park has DLC for rides. I feel like that's like the first time any ride has ever done that. I don't know. Do you know of any, Nathan?
I can't think of any off the top of my head. It's a bit like I don't know, over because you have to buy you're buying these like separately, right? At like gift shops and whatnot.
Yeah, that's my understanding
So
of it.
like that is a bit like disappointing to see that like it's not gonna be like because Disney is already so commercialized of an experience. Like we were talking about how like expensive the food is when we were there. And like the food isn't even really like I wouldn't even consider it like good. It's very like mediocre.
It's not
But
bad.
yeah,
It's just not like top tier.
yeah, it's really not like I feel like if there's anything that could really improve the Disney experience for a lot of people, especially people that aren't like diehard Disney fans, it's like getting some better food in there.
Honestly, I'm the type of guy that'll eat like pretty much anything. I love like the food that I have there, but like one of the things that happened when we went is I ordered two of the like macaroni cones that they offer at the Cozy Cone hotels over in Carsland, and I ordered them at like 8:30 on their like Disney has like this new mobile ordering thing. So I ordered them on that. We went on the Radiator Racers ride and got off the ride at like 9:15. So the park had closed. Park closes at 9. I walk over to like the Cozy Cone hotels and I'm like, well, I figured like my food must just be sitting there, right? Like they made the food. Like I pull up, they should just give it to me, right? No, they had already closed and like thrown out all the food that never got picked up. So like my cones were just like I didn't get to see them, but I'm sure they just like threw them in the trash. But even though there's like I ordered the macaroni cones and I love macaroni, like the last time I had the cone, it's just kind of it's mediocre. Like
Yeah,
there's so many things like you go and like get them because like yeah it's Disney and like yeah you want to try the food, but
yeah,
it's not like you're looking forward to it. Like there's other things you're looking forward to, right? You're looking forward to like getting on
yeah,
the
exactly.
Incredicoaster.
It's not like a focal point,
Yeah,
which is not that it should be a focal point, because like I would hope it's not the focal point when like we have like these giant like themed
the
rides and whatnot. But like
the Disney
I don't know, like
Instagram pages that focus only on
yeah,
food beg to
it's just
disagree.
like like given the scale of like the architecture there and like how like immersive everything is. I don't know. I do give them props for having the food like having a lot of themed dining options. I like that. Like that what you just described with the cozy cone. That's nice.
Yeah,
Like it really adds to the ambiance and like atmosphere. And Cars Land is all honestly I give Cars Land like one of the highest ratings for like atmosphere in any like Disney area or like
that's
California
that's the
area.
thing I'm most excited about for Avengers Campus is that the atmosphere
Yeah.
of it is got to be amazing. Like you go in there, you see because they're gonna have like an animatronic Spider-Man that's like flying from a crane. Like you're gonna be walking around seeing like I don't even know how to describe it. Like you all these places that look so perfectly themed to the area because it's brand new. It's not like a
Mhm.
Tomorrowland like slapped together. It's
Yeah, yeah.
like you said, like Cars, such a perfectly done area because it was like all done at once and it's all Cars themed. Like I don't know, I'm just the places
And I would
here.
say that's where Disney like shines when like the way it creates like atmosphere and like kind of puts you in that world.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I remember reading is that it's like Disneyland wasn't made for kids because kids have imaginations. Like Disneyland is like for
Yeah.
adults because it's like we don't have like super active imaginations. So when we go and we actually see Iron Man walking around, it's like we don't have to imagine Iron Man anymore. Like
Exactly.
that's an actual physical representation. Like you're actually going in, you're seeing like Spider-Man doing web slinging stuff. Like that kind of stuff. Like that's what Disney, like you said, like Disney does so well.
Like we were talking about it with Winif. If you guys watched last episode, if you haven't, go watch it, but or listen to it. But we were talking with Winif how like did it, a lot of the like atmosphere at Disney makes her feel like a kid again, and I think that's like the appeal for most people is like
kind of like having that really nice atmosphere. And even if it's not like even me personally, like I'm not like a huge Cars fan or anything, but it's just like the atmosphere is so nice because like obviously when you create the settings of these movies, they're meant to feel like, you know, enjoyable and like warm and cozy, or like they're meant to make you feel some type of way, you know?
Uh-huh.
So like in the case of Cars, you know, like with the cozy cone and like the way the lights are all warm at night, it's just a very nice like cozy vibe.
Did you get a chance to look into Avengers Campus, like over the walls while we were there, with the lights on in Avengers Campus, like near the
I
night?
don't think we saw it at night, but I'm really excited for that. Because
The photos are
like
stunning, and the photos that people and videos that people have been taking, it looks beautiful.
I'm really excited for like the type of like kind of like feelings it's gonna induce, I guess. That's a weird way to put it. But like we just mentioned with Cars, like Cars feels like a nice homey, like warm area in Cars Land. I'm excited to see what like Avengers Campus is gonna feel. I have a feeling it's gonna feel very like grand and like impressive.
That's how I felt when I stepped into Galaxy's Edge on the first day that that opened. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
I
dude,
can see it being the same type of feel.
I wasn't like crying, but I was just like, yo, Disney understood that people like Star Wars so much that they made a whole land dedicated to it, you know? And like,
Mhm.
even though I personally don't like Galaxy's Edge for the fact that they focused it around the sequel era, I do just love overall that like I am immersed in Star Wars. And like everyone who's there is there for Star Wars, you know? Like once
Mhm.
people get into Avengers Campus, like people are gonna you walk around and you know that everyone there is like
Yeah.
appreciating it. You know what I
Yeah, that's
mean?
another great thing. It like unites like a community, like having these little subsections of the park. Like people that are in Avengers Campus, like a lot of them are like big Marvel fans, you know?
I'm trying. I don't want to like make any broad strokes and be like everyone who sets foot in there is a
Yeah.
Marvel fan, but like you know the majority. Like if you're spending any large amount of time in that part of the park, like if you love how does this people who like Disney tend to like all aspects of Disney. Like
Mhm.
if you're a fan of Disney, you probably like Star Wars. You probably like Avengers, like the MCU movies. They're some of the most popular movies like on the market right now. It's like when people are in there, they're gonna be like amazed, you know? Like some of the things
Mhm.
we have in here, we got the PIM test kitchen, we have Avengers headquarters, we have the Ancient Sanctum, so that's gonna be like a Doctor Strange area. Web supplies, which is like the shop for the Spider-Man ride, and then of course the Spider-Man web slingers, a Spider-Man adventure, and then of course you can't forget we've got Shawarma Palace. So it's gonna be a little cart where they sell shawarma. So if you've
Oh, no
seen
way.
yeah, so if you've seen the first Avengers movie, they actually go in the post-credit scene to like a little shawarma shop. Um, the movie takes place in New York, but they actually film that scene in California. So like somewhere in I think it's like somewhere in like the larger Hollywood area. So one of my bucket list things to do this summer is to actually go to the shawarma place where it was recorded. So
Shawarma is actually, fun fact, shawarma is one of my like by far favorite foods.
all right,
So I would like to tag along.
yeah, we'll hit up our friend Kevin. He's got a car. We'll say hey, we're going out to shawarma.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is anything like which thing are you like most excited for? For me, it's probably like the Pim Test Kitchen, just because I want to see like the huge food that they have. Like I was joking the other day about they have like $100 like panini sandwich, which I like. It's not meant for one person. It's meant for like a ton of people, and it's just like a massive sandwich that like they pretend as if it was like hit by
Oh,
one of
that's so fun.
yeah, they pretend like it was like one of those I forget what they're called, like the Pim particles had like grown the
Yeah, yeah.
sandwich. So
Mhm. Yeah, that's really fun.
that's gonna be a challenge somewhere on the internet where someone's like eating the entire Pim sandwich in like 10 minutes or something.
I hope they should do some like food challenges with it. Like if you eat the whole thing by yourself in the time limit, you get it for free.
If you eat the whole thing by yourself, you get to meet Ant Man. Paul Rudd comes out of the kitchen.
Yeah, Paul Rudd comes out and personally thanks you.
So I don't know. Are you most excited for the food, for the Quinjet, for the ride? Like which is the thing that's like got you most hyped?
Honestly, I think that it's just exciting seeing like Disney make like just having newer areas of the park because I feel like we don't get to see like Disney has a lot of like technology and whatnot that we don't get to see like realized as often because there's not constantly like new stuff being added to parks. But like
Yeah,
when they add a whole new segment like this, like you saw with Galaxy's Edge, you know, like a lot of the stuff in Galaxy's Edge
it's like
is
top
like
tier, like brand new
yeah, it's
tech.
like
Yeah.
it's much further ahead of like the old, like older rides and whatnot. So I'm really excited to see like how advanced Avengers Campus is going to be, especially considering a lot of the like source material from the Avengers movies is very
High
like
tech
tech
too.
focused. You
Yeah.
know, yeah,
It's like that one quote from I think Age of Ultron where like Iron Man's like, "Oh, he's in charge. I just pay for everything." Like everything's like
yeah,
it's everything's like billionaire funded like
yeah.
um
Exactly. That's why I'm thinking it's going to be a real like grand feel. Like,
uh
mhm.
high tech cuz of course Spider-Man, he's super smart. Like I can't wait to see my DLC money in the ride. Shoot.
uh
Every shot better be worth $1 for
yeah,
every web I'm slinging. Are
yeah.
you
It's just I'm glad they went with something like I don't know, just like off the top of my head. Like imagine if there was like an Indiana Jones land, right? Like it would be really
Oh,
fun.
are
And
there
like
going to be
oh, I'd love
snakes
that, but like
everywhere?
you wouldn't you wouldn't have the same capacity for like cool little like tech focused like knickknacks and stuff, I guess.
Mhm. That's like the one thing what they tried to do with Galaxy's Edge is they kind of like wanted to low tech it because it's like the outer rim of Star Wars. Like it's
Hmm.
not it's not like Coruscant. It's not like a main like core world. So that's why
Yeah,
like I like this better where it's like it's literally a campus. It's supposed to be like a place where like
yeah.
knowledge and technology are like present.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um
like if anything is gonna be like Disney showing their like most modern foot, it's gonna be this.
are you when we went to California Adventure, we actually noticed on one of the stages they had was it like I don't know if you'd call it a meet and greet, but like a little show they had with Black Widow. She was running around on the stage, and then
Yeah.
they took they took her backstage, and then they threw out Spider Man. So I don't know. Are you excited for any of the
Like
um
cast
yeah
member appearances.
yeah like the people they're gonna have in Avengers Campus?
I think it depends on the execution, like on their part, honestly. Cause like I feel like if you get people that really like buy into the role, because like this is different than like when you walk by, I don't know what the area is called, but you know the area where we walk by where you see like Pixar characters on Pixar Pier. Like I think we saw some characters from
Are you talking about when Mr. Incredible was like walking by the Incredicoaster like that?
there's that. And then we saw like some characters from I think it's called Inside Out, that Pixar movie about like
Yeah,
emotions.
yeah,
Yeah, we saw some Inside Out characters. And those are one thing because those are like people inside like giant suits, you know. But like when you have Avengers characters, you're talking about like people that are actually like, you know, they need to like act, you know,
yeah,
because you can see their faces and whatnot. So I
yeah.
think if
Like,
the cast members are really like buying into it and like putting on a show, then I think it'll be really cool to see.
do you remember when we were walking down like Buena Vista Street and there was Elsa and Anna? Like we were like walked right next to
Oh
Anna.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
see like that type of stuff is like heavily reliant on like how well the cast members are doing.
Because they're acting all the time. And, like as soon as they're outside, like
Yeah.
when we
Mhm.
heard her talking to like her cast member friend who was like not in an outfit, and she has to like
Mhm.
keep up like the happy cheery attitude.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when you're
And that being said, like if anyone's gonna do it, it's Disney, you know, because like all the happy, cheery like people that are able to like put on that performance for like an 8 hour shift, like they go to Disney, you know, there's no like higher tier place to do this at.
That's what I'm curious to though. Like, so from my understanding is that in Avengers Campus, it's like it's not part of the MCU. It's like a slightly similar version of the MCU, but it's not
Ooh,
quite like the same universe. So like that's why like Black Widow's still alive. I guess Iron Man's still alive. Spoilers if you haven't seen
spoilers.
Endgame, but like if you haven't seen Endgame at this point, like what are you doing? This is a Disney podcast. Come on, it's been out for like 2.5 years. But
But yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
That Black Widow we saw was very like interesting because they got a really good stand-in. Like she looked like she could be like
she was
straight
cute.
out of a comic book. No, but seriously, like they looked like she was like if you had told me that was let's say you had never like you were living under a rock for the past like 30 years and you told me that like she was the actor that played Black Widow, I would believe you.
Yeah. Spider-Man was a little less convincing in my opinion,
Yeah,
but
the Spider-Man was a big step down. Maybe it's just because like we're so used to seeing Spider-Man have like CGI elements now
yeah,
with
that's a
like
good point.
the newer movies
It
that
wasn't
it's
Tom
hard to
Holland.
capture that, but yeah.
But that is an interesting thing. We're gonna see the animatron. That I'm excited to see if they actually pull off the flying Spider-Man animatronic over the web slingers building.
That sounds like a challenge
I
because
feel
Spider-Man's not like even like with some of the dark rides we went on, we noticed that like the animatronics that were like larger seemed to be better. Like Ursula from
oh, but like from Little Mermaid.
yeah, Little Mermaid, and then on the Monsters ride, I think it was like the Secretary was really
Yeah.
good. But some of the like more like thin, nimble characters, like Ariel looks off.
Well, you see
Ariel
the
looks
thing though with the Spider-Man flying through the air though is that you're not like up close to him. You know, like you
yeah,
see him in the
that's a good
distance
point.
flying,
Yeah, he's
so
really far away.
it's not as like big of a deal. I
Yeah, so if they
believe.
can just nail his like silhouette and like put some interesting like movements in there, that'll definitely be cool.
A more interesting thing to see is in the Spider-Man ride. Like you know how some rides have like a pre-queue area where like you like listen like the Guardians of the Galaxy ride how it has like Rocket talking to you from like up above.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like we had to walk through that because of COVID. Like they didn't have that show going on. But the Spider-Man ride is supposed to have I forget if it's like I'm not sure if it's like animatronic based. I'd have to double check, but it's like some form of like pre-show where like Spider-Man's like giving you like a little like education or like little like
Mm.
lecture or something.
I really
So
like those, the like pre-ride, like I guess experiences you would call them. Like
yeah, yeah,
Guardians is one of my favorite like rides because of that, because of the line.
because of the line.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I really hope we get to see like I want to see a Peter Parker like living quarters.
oh,
Like that
it's
would be
probably
so
just like a
fun to
desk that he like falls
like
asleep
walk
on.
through his apartment. Yeah, and he's like tinkering with something, like a web shooter.
That's what I'm saying. There's not like a living area, but like I think that's like the room that you're gonna be put into is like like his tinkering room or something like that.
Mhm.
Like I said, I think it's like more of like a it's more of like a projection slash like wall you look at where he's doing it. I'm not sure if it's like an animatronic, but I'm interested to see like how realistic whatever type of technology they use. I'm interested to see how realistic it looks. You know?
I'm expecting it to be pretty impressive just because of how new it is.
Yeah,
I have
high
high hopes.
expectations.
Yeah.
um, no, I think that's about it for now. We're slowly over time. They keep putting out more Avengers Campus news. I'm sure maybe next week we'll have like more additional things to talk about with it. But right now it's kind of just we're counting down the weeks now until the place opens. So, like I said, I'm going with Blake on June 13th, I believe. I believe that's a Saturday or a Sunday. So we'll definitely do some vlogging there. We'll make sure to get some footage of Avengers Campus and we'll have that out to y'all and then we'll get our personal experiences and let you know like I don't know what's like the most interesting parts of the things that shocked us the most. Any final comments about Avengers Campus, Nathan?
No, I think I'm all good here. I think all that's left is actually for you guys to see it.
Do you think are you like dying to go? Like do you think you'll be down to go again or like go again to California Adventure this summer?
I mean, I think like next time we go, it'll definitely be like a very exciting part of the trip for me, you know?
Because it's like actual Avengers Campus this time.
Yeah, like I'm definitely going straight there. Especially because like I've been to California Adventure like a decent amount of times. I feel like I'm like quite familiar with the park at this point. Like it'll be interesting to see like a newer edition.
Yeah, I guess that was my issue too when we went. That wasn't much to do because of COVID had shut things down and like we've said before, California Adventure was like the discount park that was made. Like it's no Disneyland, even though there are fun parts about it. But Avengers Campus is definitely an improvement over a Bugs Land that they had. Are you gonna miss a Bugs
I
Land, Nathan?
don't think so.
I don't think anyone
They
will.
will.
But yeah, I guess that's all the time we have for this episode. So as always, thank you everyone so much for listening. We'll be back next week with, I don't know, more Disney news, whatever's going on. We'll keep counting down the days until Avengers Campus opens. So if you want to follow us, you can find us online at Instagram at Castles and Company, on Twitter at Castles and Company, and that's Castles, capital N Company. And you can also find our website, castlesandcompany.com, where we have links to our Patreon page and our Discord server. So remember this: laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. Have a magical rest of your day.